What if I want to walk there?
Welcome everyone. How we doing? Hope everyone had a good day today. Swing, how we doing? eBay. It's up on eBay. Probably haven't looked at this chart since the last time you asked me to look at this chart. It's like that breakout just having trouble sticking for now, but giving bounces over and over. It went on a ripper, huh? Wow. $1.20 day out of eBay ain't too shabby. Nice one. I bet that paid nice for you in there. Nice one. Good hit for you.
Drinking warm water is important. Just blood sugar.
He's looking pretty good, huh? Tried to get that pickup in volume on the last breakout. Yeah, I don't even like looking at that one. That one hurts me. I got in too early. I got these on the way down. And then I took them off like here. Ooh, man, $20 more a share would have been all right, eh? Yeah, look at that volume on it. I know it's pretty funny. It's pretty funny. Not much left to go for that gap fill. That thing got demolished though. I mean, I don't even remember what the news was now. I just remember being like, that should not be down 25%. What's up, Rudy? Lambos? Always here. Snow? I'd never trade that one. I hate that stupid thing. Huh? It's coming back to a little point of interest, little make or break point for it right there, huh? Man, that was an easy short. I wish I would have caught that one. Snow's just one I can't like figure out. People love it, but the market doesn't love it for some reason. Yeah, CRM, and didn't they like, weren't they replacing a CEO or something too? I don't remember. I could have sworn there was a little something else. Ooh, dividend coming up though here in a few days. It's the second today, so got about a week. Wonder how that plays. Oh, looks like it's gonna be its second one. Lion, how you doing? Welcome, welcome everybody. We'll give it a few more minutes to let people keep rolling in. Spike, what's up? Yeah, you dump 25% and you're oversold. I don't care what the stock is, you know. You you do it. I don't know, maybe I'm making that up, but in my mind I thought it was like 25%. 22%. You drop 22% overnight and you're oversold, no doubt. RSI was at 0. How's everybody doing? Do we all have a good day today? Pretty fun one if you're on the right side of it, I'd say. Nice trend day for us. Gotta love when those happen. I, of course, never trade them that well, but what a beautiful day. There you go. Love the good stop loss. I uh I very frequently talk about sometimes, and we'll probably even this will probably get brought up again later in this lecture, but sometimes a good stop out feels better than making money. When you stop out of a trade and you're down, 15% or whatever, and then you look at that same trade 2 hours later and it's down like 70%. Sometimes that feels real good, like you knew what you were doing. Yep, gotta love that. And there's a couple, there was like, don't get me wrong, there's like a couple times that you could be short today, just some rejections off, like that 100% fib, things like that. But it was one of those days where, I got a buddy I talked to a lot, and I basically I told him, he's like, oh, I'm just getting smoked today. And I was like, go to a longer time frame. And so, when you get, and we'll talk about this too, but when you get caught up in the 5 minute, there's so much noise right here. And if you zoom out to the 15 minute, all of a sudden you see what the market's doing. If you go even further, you go to the 30 minute, you know, the candles tell you a lot. The candles tell you what the market's thinking about. Sure, we sold, we instantly printed a big reversal candle on the next 30 minute. And I took a trade around there in my tab. That was my one alert for the day. And I mean, that was part of the trade, was just looking at that longer time frame and being like, okay, it's about time to hop in this thing right here. And so, that's what we did. Well, VWAP even got the reversal candle down here. So, and then I took my entry right after that reversal candle right here, just because, I normally don't like buying to the top of the range, buying on these EMAs, but we had everything. I mean, tech was buying today. They were buying things on the market. XLE was the 1 week one, but that was what I pointed out, and I always try to tell people to watch something. It, of course, ended up not holding, but you were getting some bounces out of it. And so whenever I was entering those trades, I don't remember what time of day that was, but I was seeing a little bounce on XLE like that. We knew financials were in buy mode as well. So when you got tech, financials, and energy trying to bounce, you'll get a bounce out of SPY. So that was the reason that I felt decent with this entry below the trend. And then the second it closed outside of that trend above all those EMAs on that candle, then those EMAs basically gave you the ride that you just held on to. And I ultimately took my last one off, very early, but here. Yeah, XLE still getting clobbered though. Oil short, been the move. Oh, wow, Ripper out of JPM. Okay, let me get one more thing going. Welcome everybody. Hope we're all doing good. Okay, welcome everybody. How are we doing? Hope everybody had a nice day today. Wow, JPM, look at that thing. Hope everybody had a good day today. Like I said earlier, fun day in the market. I was happy that I was happy and sad that we were doing trading psychology tonight because, today is one of those days that it gets in people's heads. There's many, facets of trading psychology, but when you get a big old ripper of a day like today, it can kind of mess with you a little bit. So happy to be doing this tonight, but also disappointed because it's 4th of July weekend, so I'm willing to bet we're gonna have a pretty small crowd tonight. But with that, welcome everybody. Dirty River, happy to have you here. As all you know, I've been doing my series. We're winding it down now. This is second to last class. Next class we have is going to be building a trade plan. And so obviously that one's going to get pretty technical. It's going to go into some price action as well. And it's going to put together from the last, I don't know, 8 classes or whatever we've done. It's going to put all of that stuff together. But tonight is a little bit different. We'll of course always be using a chart. I feel like if you're a trader, no matter what you're doing, no matter what you're trying to learn, you should always try to get the chart involved because trading psychology is a thing that yes, it is a mental game, but the mental stuff that we're fighting with is typically something on the chart. It's not just in our head. It's not something like that. So, some trading psychology things to think about are, holding trades longer than you should hold a trade, not stopping out where you should stop out, not taking profit where you should take profit, and then, letting trades go red on you. All of those things go into trading psychology, as well as, just waking up in the morning and maybe if you're like grumpy, you shouldn't take any trades because you might do something stupid or you might hold a trade for too long and really lose a lot more money than you want. I know that, I've worked with a lot of people in here, whether one-on-ones or doing these lectures for a couple of years now, helping people on trade floor. Uh, Everybody at some point struggles with trading psychology, and the people that are able to get trading psychology under wraps and kind of start ignoring things in the market and well, ignoring the right things I should say, and really just following their rules. That's what all trading psychology comes back to is know how to set yourself up for success when you're trading, and it will, if you've set yourself up in a good way, the making money part of trading starts to come a little bit easier when you get all of the, junk out of your way. And so that's hopefully what we're going to work on a little bit tonight. Like I said, we're going to do a lot of talking. We're of course going to have charts involved, but I want this class tonight, like I said in the little description, would love for it to be more of a discussion. Then I don't want to lecture, at least for me, I was talking about this recently with some friends that, trading psychology books or, like self-help, not, I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but, people that tell you, good job, you're a strong person, those types of books have just never personally worked for me. That's not something that I really struggle with. And so that's why I want this to be a discussion because everybody deals with trading psychology different. Some of the issues that, you have, probably a lot of other people feel them too, or maybe, the things that cause you to make bad choices are actually different than a lot of people's. And so you want to talk about that because, everybody learns this different and everybody deals with, uh, you know, making a bad decision, getting down on themselves. I got a buddy, I work with him all the time. I hope he's in here tonight. He should be. But I work with him all the time. And he has the unfortunate issue of getting pissed, He'll take a bad trade and then all of a sudden, he'll message me in the morning. I'll be like, okay, call it a day. And 2 hours later, I get a message that's like, yeah, I messed up. I took this trade and I lost more money. And so that's something that, for a lot of people, just walking away can be hard. They want to keep watching the charts, they want to keep doing things. But even I'll do it if I take a loss, I'm not just going to sit there. I'm probably going to walk away because you don't want to dive in on another trade right away. And so with that, like I said, I want participation. So the first thing that we're going to go, oh, I see I got some questions in here. Maybe we'll go through those. Will lifetime membership guarantee your spot for the masterclass? Probably. I'm the wrong person to ask. Oh, we got Mike in here sending me messages, FOMO messages. What a perfect class for him. I hope you listen tonight, Mike. Yep, iPhone, we all struggle with it. Yep, all been there. Oh, yep, and more direct messages from Mike with FOMO. Okay, so how I want to start tonight is I just want to hear from all of you. You know, we got 40 of you in here. Let's hear some things that you struggle with. Let's talk about some things that you all struggle with. You know, I can cover my normal ones, you know, bias or news or, you know, Twitter people or FOMO, all of those things. But I want to hear from you all. What are the things that you struggle with? Let's kind of get a feel of, you know, some of the stuff that people struggle with. So then we can talk about it because like I said, you know, like I said, we all struggle with this, and chances are, if you got issues doing something, yeah, Mike, I get it, man. I get it. No more messages, Mike. Chill out, please. So everybody can struggle with the same things, you know, and so talk about them. Yeah, we got Lambos, of course, sitting down on hands. You know, that's a big one that people struggle with, obviously. So not taking a trade is how I'm going to put that because it's something we have. I have a good friend of mine. We joke around a lot. We got a little group chat, and she likes to trade a lot, like every candle. And so our joke with her is every candle entry. It is not real. You know, you don't want to do that. You don't want to take that kind of trading. You really want to sit around and you want to wait for the good trades, wait for consolidations to break, wait for pullbacks, wait for all of that. And so, yeah, Lambos love that one. Not taking a trade, you know, just sit on those hands. I think everybody struggles with that for sure. Let's see, what do we got next? Oh, we got Mike taking gains too early. Shocker, got some messages about that. Chasing losses. Love that one because that is very common. That's even kind of, you know, what I was talking about with my buddy earlier. And it's a huge issue. It's one of undoubtedly for, I mean, and I won't even just stick to beginner traders, you know, chasing back losses is an issue that kind of gets everybody. You don't, you know, we can talk about this one a little bit, and I'm just going to slowly work through these. We're getting a ton of messages, you know, and so uh, chasing back losses is an important one to talk about because everybody does it. You know, maybe you shorted SPY early, now you've stopped out. Well, now you've built some sort of a bias, you know, so you know, you're going to keep trying to short this thing and short this thing and short this thing, saying it should be coming down, it should be coming down. And you're just trying to make the money back that you lost in the first place. And so that's one of those ones that I recommend to people get up and walk away. If you can't click buy, you can't lose money. And so if you do find yourself chasing back losses, that's something I recommend for everybody. Just go take a breather, you know, or go to trade floor and ask somebody a question. Or my favorite one is go back and look at the trade that you just took and say, you know, what could have told me to not take this trade or what could have told me to stop out of this trade sooner? You know, go back, and I always encourage people, don't dwell on losses. You know, if you take a loss, don't let it mess up your next whole week of trading. Just say to yourself, uh, you know, I took a loss. Why did I take that loss? Go back and look at it and say, okay, I'm not going to do that again, and try to save it so that, you know, save it in your mind so that you know to not make that mistake again. Ooh, Lion Trader, I like that. Searching for more. You always want more. He said for, I'm sure I think I got like 20 messages below me. I'm not okay with making 50 bucks is what he said. So I just got that is searching for more profit. You know, it's no secret in here. Everybody knows that I get called out about it. I get out of things way too early, always. But I don't care. It doesn't matter. This is a long game, you know. We see it in the Discord all the time. I'm not going to obviously call out anybody by name, but we see it in the Discord all the time. We'll have people super loud on trade floor posting in gains every day. Oh, I'm, you know, hitting SPX, I'm making so much money, and then they disappear because those type of people aren't happy with smaller gains. So, you know, like we talk in my lectures all the time, the market typically doesn't trend. You know, we talked about a day like this just like when we were talking price action last week. It's around 10% of the time you'll get a trend day that just trends all day. So, you know, you'll basically get a trend day once every couple weeks. Of course, sometimes it can be more, sometimes it can be less, you know, but you'll get a nice good trend day once every couple weeks. And people go hunting for those. That's why I said today scares me. You know, we had a nice big trend day. We got people swinging calls after after SPY ran $5, pushed us up there next to the all-time highs. You know, it's not the smartest place to be swinging calls. Could we get a big old awesome gap up? Sure. But when people see this just extreme movement, they expect it to happen the next day. And it frequently doesn't. You'll frequently find some consolidation or a bigger move will be made in the night and you'll fill a gap to, you know, return to the previous levels, those kinds of things. But people always want those big breakout trades and they don't realize that, you know, when they see the big gains in trade floor, the people that take 50 bucks every time, they're doing way better than the people hunting the $500, you know, SPX1 contract trade. Those people are the ones losing money. Let's see what we got. Take my profit too early, then get smoked. Yeah, we'll get into doing profit too early in a little bit. I'm gonna talk about that. Yeah, Lambo's over trading going green to red. Love that you brought that one up. Like I said, I'm behind. I'm already 5 minutes behind on these. And so over trading, quick talk about that one is that you know when we overtrade, something that I do, and this is something that I've sent out to a bunch of people, and if you know anybody wants it, feel free to ask me for it. I send out some trading rules and I send out a way that I teach people to protect profit. And so, you know, without getting into too much detail, what I explain to people is, you know, say you make 50 bucks on Monday, then you come into Tuesday. In your mind, your port should be worth $50. That's it. Your stop losses should never let you go red on the week. So maybe make another 50 bucks. Well, the next day you go, you know, on Tuesday, you go into Wednesday and maybe you take a losing trade and you're down $50. That's when you make the choice on the week or on the day, but you're still up on the week. That's when you make the choice to stop trading. And so that's how I'll do it intraday. You know, people see me scalp for 15, 20%, and they're like, why don't you just hold for the move? And because I can scalp 3 20% trades quickly and make the same amount as the person who, you know, holds the breakout, holds the failure, and finally gets the next breakout and moves. In this time, you've taken 3 scalps and likely made more money than the person that just held the contract. So that's what I do. I fund my day. So maybe I make my, you know, $50. Well, now I trade and I know that I'm never going to let myself lose more than $50. And I just keep stacking that 10 bucks, 15 bucks, 20 bucks on every trade and just cruise through the day. Nice and easy. Oh, yeah. And see all these people saying closing early with small profit. And I'm just explaining to you why that doesn't matter. And looking for days like this are, you know, not like, not it's not going to work. You're going to end up losing more money always hunting the big trending days because it just doesn't work very well for you. You know, they're so rare in the market that, you know, people probably caught this breakout on SPY and made a little bit of money. And then when this pullback happened, they lost much more than they were, you know, than their profits were looking like. And so that's why me, Flips, Tilio, all of us always say, you know, wait for that pullback and take the better entry, or wait for the breakout retest and take the better, safer entry, as opposed to being the person who gets chopped up for 2 hours, especially when there's other trades to be had in there, you know? Never think you're selling early. Say you're selling and you're looking for a better entry. That's always what I tell people to do. Mike, you have an issue of averaging down and continuing to lose. You know, I assume that's Mike. Could be fake Mike. You never know these days anymore. But that's a huge issue for a lot of people. And it's something that, you know, you'll see some of us will average down trades. But if we're averaging down a trade, it's because that was in the plan before we entered the trade. And so if your plan, and you know, everybody knows that I preach, you know, if you don't have a plan before you enter the trade, then you're already failing. And so if your plan does not involve averaging down, then you don't average down. because what I tell people is there is a very, very fine line between averaging down and adding to a loser. And you don't want to add to a losing trade, but maybe you did buy SPY calls here. And we're just going to use this chart as an example. Maybe you did buy SPY calls here, knowing you were taking the first breakout early entry. And you can say to yourself, my plan is to average down here somewhere around this level or VWAP. That's where I'll get into my full position. That's okay if it's part of your plan. I think it's on this trade a bad plan, but that's okay if it's your plan. But if there was never a plan to average into the trade, then you don't add to the trade. That's it, you know. What do we got here? So this is a really interesting one. I'm happy somebody brought it up. So it's a person saying that they struggle to remember to use stop losses. And I'm almost 10 minutes behind on messages now. That they struggle to remember to use stop losses or struggle to use stop losses. And they say every time they use one, they get stopped out, then it rips. So I get these types of messages a lot. And like, it's not the stop loss's fault. I don't want to be mean, but I'm pretty direct, I'm pretty blunt, as most people know. And uh if your stop loss is getting hit and the trade ends up running, one of two things happened. You took a bad entry, and so you couldn't handle the risk of holding the trade, even if the trade was still intact. You bought calls here. You didn't wait for the pullback. You bought them up here. So by the time you're stopping out is where other people are thinking of buying. So one of two things happened. You took a bad entry, or you put your stop loss in the wrong place. We can just continue to use this trade. Maybe you did have a wider stop. Maybe you bought time. That's why just as my example, I bought calls right here and I alerted the next days, because then you don't have the risk of the same day. If it does pull back, if this ends up being, some sort of little, retrace with a continued breakdown, you aren't going to get beat up too bad. I knew my stop was a close under VWAP. And if it started getting real bad, then, I would stop out if we were really selling, but just looking for a close under VWAP. So as long as your plan is good, you will start to realize you get stopped out on trades that you want to stay in a whole lot less. Oh, we got Dark River asking about ECE, huh? Johnny, huge issue. And so Johnny, he says, have a hard time with letting go of a trade that goes red. Sometimes not, and that's huge. And that's something that everybody needs to learn. And so here is what I teach people, because, we have seen in recent weeks some truly horrible trading going on in the Discord. Some of the trades that members are holding, and maybe I alert, like, and one of them was mine. I alerted some SPY calls for a scalp, and I think we made like 15%. Then at the end of the day, they expired worthless. And somebody messaged me and said, I held these, are they still okay? And I said, well, no, because we're way out of the money, blah blah blah. And so you know they didn't realize that, like, that's all gone. They missed the 15% sell but thought that it was coming back. And so what I teach people how to do is, or how to deal with that, is you need to think of two stop losses in your head. You need to have your perceived stop loss. And so we'll use the trade that I said. So this is where we entered. Our perceived stop loss, where we think we're going to stop out, is all I mean by that, is basically under this VWAP. I mean, you could widen it out to the 50, but whatever. We'll say under this VWAP. Stop doesn't matter, because this is where we plan on stopping out. If a candle closes down here, we're getting out. That's our plan. Then you need to have a hard stop loss in place. You need to say to yourself, and this is going to be, if you just kind of buy contracts at will and don't think about what you're buying, this is going to be more difficult for you. But you need to know the maximum amount you are going to lose. So when I alerted in my tab today, I said, let me find it real quick. Give me just a second. I'm buying some tomorrow, 546s for 105 bucks. Stops will be under VWAP, close under VWAP, and it'll be 95 bucks a contract. The second I bought those contracts, I knew how much I was risking losing. I also knew in my head, I am not willing to lose any more than 20 bucks on these, was, down to $85. That's where my hard stop goes. It doesn't matter if it goes all the way down there and hits it. If it happens, then that means you took a bad entry. But that hard stop goes on the chart and it does not move until I'm in profit and I'm protecting those profits. Because if you only have, your mental stop loss, well, then maybe you bought calls up here and your stop was under here and you see this candle and then you just keep getting smoked, keep getting smoked, keep getting smoked, not stopping out. If you have that hard protective stop set of this is the maximum I'm willing to lose, then you will stop holding those trades too long. I mean, I preach it. If you shouldn't, most trades, as long as you took a halfway decent entry, 20% is the widest stop you'll ever really need. There is no, and I don't care if it's a swing trade, I don't care what it is. There's no reason to let contracts, I mean, and 30%, it happens, there's no reason to hold contracts 40, 50, 60% down. The contract's got to double just to go to break even. And so you really, really do not want to do that. Uh, oh, let's see. Holding on to same day contracts too long. We just covered that. You don't want to do that. Same days, you need to be right or wrong instantly. If you aren't right or wrong in the, a couple, 2, 3 candles, then you likely want to get out of the trade. If you're still holding everything technically still sound, your plan is still intact, you can hold them. But if you find yourself in 2 hours of chop, at the end of it, you're gonna have a much more difficult time getting out in profits. Tim, confirmation bias. So what I recommend to people is just don't be biased. Trade what the market gives you. There's no reason to, there's no reason to think the market should go up or think the market should go down. Look at the chart. And if the chart is telling you it's going up, then you likely want to be trading long. If the chart is telling you it's going down, you likely want to be trading short. It is very, 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 very rarely a good idea to trade against the trend. We all say trend is your friend, blah, 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 whatever it is. It's rarely a good idea to trade against the trend. If you're coming to big technical bounce points or rejection points, fine. But for most traders, just trade with the trend. Don't think, oh, this data was bad, and so I'm gonna, I want to short the market, because maybe you're reading data wrong, which is what we're gonna cover next. Maybe you're reading the data wrong. So just try to not have a bias on the day. And with that, I actually want to talk about something real quick, and then we're just going to keep cruising through questions. Uh, News. So obviously, we have a lot of news in this market. We have data every week. We have Fed speakers every week. I encourage you to go study and learn when they say things, what they mean when they say that. I also understand it is boring, and if you aren't into it, you're probably never going to go understand it, and that's perfectly fine. You don't need to understand what every little data point that comes out in the market is, but it's good to have a little bit of a basic understanding of some of them. And it is very, very important to know where you're getting your news from. Everybody hears me hate on Twitter all the time. It's because they're wrong and they share incorrect stories or they describe things poorly. And it leads to what I feel is the bigger issue of people read the headline and then they take a trade based on the headline, but they don't actually understand what it is. And so that was something, Tilio and I talked about it when we had the podcast, and those always just turn into basically me and him talking and me asking him questions. And we had inflation data that morning, and I think we had maybe jobs numbers that morning, and people were like, this is so bad, it's going up, blah, blah, blah. But if you look at the big picture and you look at the individual sectors of inflation and you realize that we want those jobs numbers going up, all of a sudden you realize, hey, this is a buy the dip situation. And so today was another example. I actually got 2 messages on this today, one from a good buddy and one from somebody I'd never talked to before. And they said, hey, Tesla's delivery numbers are way down. I shorted it and I lost money. And they were down. They weren't as down as much as predicted, at least what I saw. And, all the numbers can be slightly different. They weren't down as much as predicted, and everybody was prepared for them to be down. So when they meet or beat that down, the market views it as good. And all of a sudden, you get a wild Tesla day like this, those days where Tesla's fun to trade. I didn't hit it today, but where Tesla's putting in tradable moves early in the day. And so always know who you're getting your news from and always figure out if it's real or if it's a fake story or, don't just read one article. Go look in and read a little bit and it will really, really help you. Okay, that's my news spiel. And we're back to questions. Yeah, we kind of talked about my problem is not accepting the loss and averaging down and then eventually selling it for a higher loss. Yep, that goes back to the stop out thing that I was just explaining. You 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 do not average unless it is in your plan. Like I cannot emphasize that enough. This is something, and I'm not saying this directly to you. This is a quote from a famous trader. He had it hanging on his wall as Tudor, if anybody knows. He's one of the greatest traders of all time, and he made it up. Losers add to losers. If you add to a losing trade, you will lose money. More often than not, you're going to lose money. Is there times and places for averaging? Yes. There is almost never a time or place to average a short expiration contract. A weekly contract, if you're wrong, you're wrong. Stop out and look for a better entry. That's it. That's all you can do. And use that protective stop. It's like I was mentioning this earlier in the class, probably a great time to bring it back around. When you stop out of a trade and you took a good stop out, it feels awesome. It feels almost as good as winning. Because if you stop out of a trade, you're down 15%, and then you get to come back 2 hours later and see it down 50%, 60%. That's when you get to say to yourself, wow, I am so happy I'm not in there anymore. Can it bounce and you maybe miss out on money? Yes. But as you're saying, and as a lot of people are saying, they average trades and then they lose more and more and more money. And that is not the answer. Swing, yeah, that Disney one, the Disney trade right now, it got away, and that happens. But you need to get your emotions out of the way. You need to do what's best for you, and that's it. And so we had a Disney breakout. If anybody remembers, we traded it long off of here, and then the continued breakout, they tried to catch it. The first breakout rarely works, so unfortunately, we got a bit of a pullback. However, when we look at this chart, we need to start taking some of these technicals into, consideration. When we're in a trade for our own ports, we always need to consider it. So things that I'm going to look for are going to be lows where we're bouncing. If we're long, we want to look for lows where we're bouncing to make sure our trade is still intact. Well, we had the breakout, so we bought a pullback candle on the breakout. It's reasonable enough. And then we don't get a close up. We don't get a close up. I don't care how much time you have on your trade. When you get something like this and you break your major levels of support, you stop out of the trade here. If you're still holding the trade, you have a wider stop, even though you're down bad. The second we're back in this trend, this technical breakout has failed. Ditch your bias, ditch everything you care about. It doesn't matter anymore. We were wrong on a trade, no big deal. Stop out and be happy, because the people who stopped out on this breakdown, they're good. The people who stopped out on this breakdown, they're good. The people who stopped out on this one, they're all right. They're down bad. They're down worse. They're down horrendous at this point. So when you have all of these levels of support that you're slicing through, you get out of the trade. And no big deal. It happens to everybody. This is no disrespect, man. We've all had trades run away from us. We can even go back to one of mine. This is one I love. I alerted AT&T calls right here, something like this, maybe even the close of this day. And they got downgraded and the stock gapped down $10, or 10%, sorry, 10% the very next day. So happens to everybody. We all have trades get away from us. Okay, we'll keep going. Ooh, over trading is a big one. Yep, that's of course what I'm seeing. This is Kevlar saying, over trading and FOMO. Those are the two really, really hard ones. Rudy, I'm happy you brought that up. And this is Rudy saying well, I'm not going to use the exact word he uses because I don't want to put anything out, but he's saying he adds to positions near the stop loss. And so that is where having a nice, planned trade can work really well for you. Maybe you buy calls here and this candle gets away from you and it drops down, but you aren't the same days, you got the next days. So no big deal. So you're in calls here, your stops under this VWAP or whatever it is. Well, as we come down to this VWAP, that's where you can add your whole position. If say your stop loss is 20 bucks a contract, you're willing to lose total $100 on this contract or $100 on this trade, you only buy two here. Well, because you aren't sure if the breakout's going to hold. Well, when we pull back, maybe you add a few more down here, knowing that your stop loss is right here. So if you bottom all up here, you lose $100. If you add a couple down here with very tight stops, that is when adding is important. If you add a couple down here, then now you're going to be risking, $3, $4, $5 per contract on those last three. So you're risking 15 extra bucks. But if you don't have good psychology, if you have problems with not stopping out, you can't do something like this. And I know Rudy does, but I just want to talk about this. Rudy has good psychology. And so when you're wrong, you still stop out. That's it. You took your stab to maybe, get a better cost. And when you're wrong, you stop out. Yeah. So this one is having two or three $60 days, then lose $300 on the fourth day. This goes back to, and if you want it, like I said, feel free to DM me. This goes back to how I position size. If you make 60 bucks and then you make 60 more bucks and then you make 60 more bucks, you cannot allow yourself to lose more than $180. You're up $180 on the week. Never, ever, ever let one trade go red on you. Generally, when people are doing this, it comes down to position size. Maybe they're in a couple $200 contract or $100 contracts that they make 30% on and they make their 60 bucks. And then they do it again and they make their 60 bucks. And then they try to do it a third time, but they decide this time, hey, I'm on a run. I'm going to buy $600 worth of contracts. And all of a sudden, when you change your position sizing, you'll hear me and Flips preach it all the time. Like, trade $500 position size or whatever it is, $100 position size, whatever it is, you have to stick to it because you want to be able to go 1-for-1 on trades. If you stop out for 20%, you want to know that next trade in 20%, if it's green, is going to cover the loss of the previous one. So you never change position size. And generally, when you end up taking, those bigger losses, a few $60 days and you took a $300 day, let's be real here. Most of the time, it's because you went heavier on a trade or didn't respect a stop loss. Right, you keep looking back at trades. Sure, everybody does that, and that's FOMO. And it doesn't matter. I mean, it was kind of what I brought up earlier. Everybody talks about where I always sell too early and things like that. And sure, I'm not denying it. I mean, I alerted SPY calls. Oops, I alerted SPY calls today. Right here, I took 5 contracts. I was out of 4 of them by right here. I held the 5th one to right here, and then SPY continued to run. I mean, the contracts earn 130% for myself. It happens. It doesn't matter. What I always preach is you don't need the whole move. You need a chunk of the move. And so I got half the move. I got 40% of the move. I'm perfectly happy with that. Who cares? Could I have just bought this breakout again and tried again? Absolutely. I mean, that's the way it is. Another one that I had today, and I was talking this one with a buddy. I bought this dip here. And for anybody that doesn't know, this is NQ. This is the futures. So I bought this dip right here. Somewhere down here around 220, 240 area. And then I was up here somewhere around 260. So I caught a nice 20 points. It then proceeded to run another 190 points. And for anybody who knows, you make $20 a point on that thing. So I got the very first pullback very close to the bottom and could have had a huge run. That's just the way it goes. Who cares? That's just trading. Yeah, Lambo's all kinds of all-time highs today. Wow, we got Call in the house and he's gone hard. So Raphael holding, and this is as we're seeing, I want everybody to see that we all have the same problems, holding losers too long, winners too short. It all goes back to that respecting your stop, keeping those hard stops in place. And then for runners, and we talked about this a little bit last week in the price action class, look at the candles. What are the candles telling us? Say, we got some nice big selling, first sign of buyers, bit of a reversal candle here. Maybe we buy this breakout. Well, now what do the candles tell us? There's buyers here. So we move our stops somewhere here as soon as we break. We take another breakout, move those stops up. The number people don't hold, they say, oh, I didn't hold long enough because they didn't have a plan. That's really what it comes down to. And you should, of course, be trimming if you have more than one contract, but that's what it comes down to. You need to plan the trade. I'm in calls. Okay, well, now that I'm in this trade, I need to manage this trade. And a lot of people, that's the unfortunate side of it. They see profits, so they click sell, you know. Like they might be selling in no man's land. I mean, it might be ready to rip, it might be ready to dump, but they just click sell because they see profits. Whereas if they say, okay, I'm long, I need to wait for the market to tell me to get out of this trade. And so that's what you do. And of course, this is a trend day. It makes it super easy. If we were working on choppier action, you might get stopped out sooner. But a trend day like this, look for breakouts and move those stops up. I mean, you ultimately would have got stopped out right here, still, with more push to go, but you would have caught a nice chunk of the move, a couple of dollars this is NQ, but a couple of bucks on QQQ. So trade the chart. You got to get the feelings out of the way. Still got DMs for Mike. Love it. Oh, that Mike. Well, he's in here too. He's just only sending private messages. Okay, we're catching up. Well, no, I'm 20 minutes behind. Uh, let's see, we're doing good. Mike's just all about the private messages. Uh, yeah, 1K, I'm sure you're talking about like who cares about catching the whole move right there. That was just a couple of minutes ago. Love to see that. you're asking about is it better to have 25K account to access unlimited trades? No, because everywhere offers a cash account. So you can still you can still trade all your settled cash every single day, at least in my opinion. You don't need to have 25K. And if you aren't on a cash account, I think Weeble's got them, I think Robinhood's got them now. Thinkorswim's got them now. There's no reason to not be on a cash account these days. What do I think about SPY? We can talk a little charts here maybe in a few minutes. I'm just trying to catch up. Swing, I do some alerts. I just don't like this. People want 15 alerts a day to choose from, and I don't think that's the right way to trade. So you've seen, my tab's really slowed down recently because I've been trying to, you know, I might be scalping some moves all day, but I'm trying to post charts that have actionable stuff going on. And so that's what it's been, a few less charts and a bunch more alerts. And then the alerts have been hitting. I think I've had a few stop outs in there or something. But I think the total loss on stop outs is sitting somewhere around like 13 bucks in the last 2 months. So if you only bought one contract and only took my trades, you've only lost $13 on losing trades. So that's pretty good odds. I'll take that. I mean, it might be like 20 bucks, but 10 to 20 bucks, we'll say. Does anyone know the rules of trading options while working in an investment firm? Yeah, you definitely need to talk to your boss because it can frequently be illegal. Okay, so it looks like we have got through all the questions. Of course, keep sending them on in if you have any more, but I want to go into some of the things that I talk about as far as bias. We touched on it a little bit earlier. I know we only got about 15 minutes left and we'll try to check some charts. I know everybody loves charts, so we'll check some charts at the end. But the main one I want to talk about is bias and admitting you're wrong. We just went through, I mean, what we have? We had 50 messages in here, 40 messages in here. The number one thing we hear is I don't stop out or I take profits too early. And so that is almost always going to come back to bias. And there is so many factors that play into that. And especially in today's news market. And some of the things that I want to talk about are, and we touched on it earlier, just education. I just can't emphasize enough. We offer awesome classes in here. There are some good people out there to learn from. I think that the good people to learn from are few and far between, but they do exist. But you need to be very, very careful who you're taking your information from. We have we have a world in the US right now that is heavily impacted by economic decisions, and the stock market is heavily impacted by them because it's such a speculative market. So I just want to encourage anybody, if we ever have news coming out, if it's, PCEs coming, CPIs coming, first, I highly recommend you read Tilio's newsletters. I wanted to take a second to make sure I say subscribe to them, read them. They are better than anything else you will find on the internet. I mean, there's these, there's paid services. People pay for Motley Fool and that dumb stuff. What Tilio is putting out has every bit of information you need to trade week to week. They're truly unbelievable. He explains what CPI is. He explains what PPI is. Um, he knows the market and he knows how to apply those economic things to the market and trade around them. And so when you read his newsletters, know that you are actually getting good information. If you go to Twitter and you read your favorite Furu's, feed, they're likely giving you horrible information to trade around. Make sure that you ask people who know and ask people who care about it. You can ask me. I know a decent amount of economics for sure. Tilio, amazing person to ask. You can even ask people like Rev, I mean, I hope Rev's in here. Love that guy. He's slightly bearish, naturally, but he understands economic things. He understands company fundamentals. So if you got questions about something, say an earnings report, use the people we have in here because one, if we're wrong, then you can make fun of us and that's funny. And two, chances are we're going to give you pretty good information, pretty good feelings on what's going to happen. And so you can, safely base some trades around that without having to just feel emotional nonsense from news that's actually not real. And so when you get your information from good people, then you can have a correct bias because what a bias does for you is get you set in a trade. It's the same as this. We talked about this one earlier. Wonder if I got a. So we talked about this one earlier. We're just gonna do blank chart. Maybe you shorted off the open and you started getting smoked and you start seeing rejection, 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 all of these rejections here. Well, and so you want to be short. And is there a couple of bucks to be made shorting in here? Yes, but you're shorting a breakout. A lot of people will look at these candles and they'll say to themselves, especially if they're bearish, oh, these are bearish, these are bearish, these are bearish. When in reality, I don't care which one of these candles right here, I would buy the dip on basically every single one of these candles very, very comfortably for the long. I did, and so I would very, very comfortably buy all these things on the dip. The people with the bias, the people that came in today with the bear bias, they got smoked trying to short. And so that's where the double-edged sword of bias comes from. Get good information, make the best decision you can based on that information. If you get blown out short, if you get blown out long, it doesn't matter to me. Quit trading for a second. Quit saying, the market should be going down, our favorite joke, this should not be happening. It should, you're just wrong. And so you need to be able to admit you're wrong. So that's where bears get messed up. And that is actually what, or, bulls, whoever, and that is what actually causes the market to move. We had a bunch of people shorting this here, not a bunch, but a few. We can look at the volume, not very many. We had some people shorting this here. And then we see where this breakout comes. Most of us talk about, oh, support resistance, those kinds of things. So we see where all these rejections are happening. And then maybe bears were able to make a couple of bucks. Well, what do we see right here? We see a break above. And why does the market go up here? Because shorts are selling. They were wrong. If you're biased and you're staying short and you're staying short, you keep getting blown out, thinking that the market's wrong. Maybe you misunderstood some data, and one thing leads to another, and you get stuck in a big old rip against you, unfortunately. And so I think, bias is the most important thing to work on in all of trading psychology. We have people in here that are horrible with it. I mean, we can even pull up one of my really funny joke charts just for fun. And so these are my good friends. We talk about it all the time. But Zach, was very bearish, and he's been bearish for the entire run. And so these were, shout out Crash for the epic. This was actually a bullish call out right here from Crash. All of these, top going to be in. Look, we even got MMA, all joined Bear Club. Top is in. This is the effing top, all of these things. And they were bearish and they were wrong, and you need to shake that bias. And then finally they shook the bias, and look at them, we're ripping. Like we even got a Lambos call out on here. So shake the bias, because if you don't, sorry Toasty, if you don't shake the bias, that's how you can just end up missing these just absolutely epic runs that the market wants to go on. So get rid of that bias. So let's see, that's my final spiel on trading psych. So we got about 10 minutes for some charts. Let's see if I missed anything. There we go, Lambos asking the real questions. Yeah, Swing, don't trust Twitter. But inverse Kramer, I mean, that's so hard, because if Twitter is saying the opposite of Kramer, don't take a trade. It's probably gonna chop. Oh, Raphael, absolutely. That's something that I preach when it comes to paper trading. I tell people all the time, if you're new, paper trade. Don't put real money at risk, paper trade till you figure it out. And don't paper trade with $100,000 account. You aren't gonna have $100,000. If you're gonna have a $500 port, then make the paper trade account $500, because that's the only way. And it's never gonna feel, fully real. And I understand that, but that is the way that you can get in the habits of trading a $500 port. I understand it can't help you with the emotion or the psychology, or the emotional or psychological side of real money on the line, but it can build the habits of the actual actions and ideas and sizing for trading a $500 port, $1,000 port, whatever it may be, whatever your port size is going to be. But yeah, if you're not going to paper trade in a realistic manner, just don't do it. Would I ever do live trading? I used to do it all the time. Some of you don't know, but I was like the OG in VC long before. That's how me and Flips know each other so good, and why we talk about each other all the time. Because, I mean, me and Flips have traded together in voice chats for years, and then I used to do voice chat for a long time, and then uh, quit doing it. And then actually Zach, that same Zach that we were just laughing about on the trade, Zach and Flips started doing it for a long time. And then we lost Flips again, and I was running voice chats again. Don't get me wrong, I don't trade like Flips. That guy hammers every trade he sees. I don't trade like that. I look for a few, get in, get out all day long sort of trades. But then I did that for a long time. Obviously, like I said, no 300 people coming to my voice chat. And then we got Flips back, thankfully. And so he's been doing that. So I spent a ton of time in there. I even started doing it, but then, man, it was kind of like a pain, and some people were annoying. So then we quit doing that again. But we'll do it again. Yeah, Lambos knows. Lambos knows the original voice chat days of it was me, Lambos, Scalper, honestly, Flips. And I've said this before, it's hilarious. He was so quiet. Yeah, Tigers. Scalper, no scalp. Dude, Flips was so quiet back in the day though. I loved it. It was really good. He's no longer quiet. But yeah, we can do it again. I mean, if anybody ever wants to say, "Oh, do you want to trade?" then ask me to hop in a voice chat, and I'll hop in a voice chat. What do I think of Nvidia? That it's doing basically exactly what we wanted so far. So when we were talking in class, and I don't short Nvidia. I said if you want to short it under here, you can look to short it under here. I did not. But then I wanted a little more dip. I was recommending somewhere in this 1820 to 117 area. So missed that. Nice bounce up. But really, above 22, you can obviously scalp it up to, maybe that 122. Sorry. You can scalp it up to that 124, 125. But if you really want to see the breakout, you want to see it clear in this 126 area. Otherwise, kind of short these highs and buy these dips for now. Nvidia needs a cool off. A bunch of people forget, but all of the mega Nvidia moves have come after months of consolidation. We will consolidate for so long, and then Nvidia will start moving. We'll consolidate for long, and then Nvidia will run for a few months, and then sideways again for a month and a half. So let's hope we get some nice sideways action here for a little while, and then catch another ripper on it. Yeah, Dimples was in there on occasion. That was always horrible. Carl hated the clown emoji. What do I think about the Weevil comment section? That I absolutely love it. I mean, I don't have Weevil. I wouldn't trade on Weevil, but a few of my buddies have it, and they love sending me the Weevil comments. I love that thing. That's like, yeah, if you want to make money, go do the opposite of whatever they say in the Weevil comments. Yeah, this is the daily chart. Even if you want to, we can zoom in a little bit, look at it on the 4 hour. Just trade this range, buy these dips down to here. No denying trend is down. I mean, this thing's down 20% more, even more than 20% off those highs. Let's see, what are we down? I mean, the lows were 15. I guess we got to 18. So, I mean, it's down 15% off highs. That's a place where people will start looking to buy, in my opinion. Yeah, I wanted Nvidia to 100 too. I don't think we got it. What do I think about C6? I don't know what C6 is. I assumed it was a future, but it didn't pop up. So, and then I did see somebody ask about SPY earlier. So for me, and what I think, uh, uh, this one. What I think most people should be watching on SPY is just this range. I mean, we are in a range. So you guys all know that, like, I don't, I mean, I'd probably go there. You guys all know that I don't like buying near the tops of ranges. No denying we are breaking this trend to the upside. But like I said, I wasn't swinging calls off this close today. Did we hold it? Sure. But this just wasn't a trade that I'd be taking. I'd love to go see us set a new all-time high, but I start to tread lightly. I definitely a lot more scalps, definitely a lot of keeping the stops tighter as we push towards these highs. But we need to see buying above the 551, and we need to see, and we got a nice bounce today. We talked this one on Sunday, I think, saying, look to buy RSP at these lows. And for anybody that doesn't know, this is the equal weighted SPY. We really want to see this thing ripping because that means that there's more being bought in the market than just tech. How to look for leaps? Buy them on dip days and don't touch them. I mean, the Oh, oh, we got 6C, huh? The Canadian dollar futures. I got to be honest, I'm not super well versed in the Canadian dollar futures. Um, Sick call out though. I can't wait to tell Crash about that. But yeah, nice 6C there. How to look for leaps. Sorry, I got distracted. How to look for leaps. So rule of thumb on leaps, you never buy a leap on a green day. And you want to buy things on dips. Google was one that oops, Google was one that offered this nice consolidation, dip, 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 dip. These are the types of days where you want to buy dips. These are where you want to buy leaps. You never want to buy leaps on the top of big green candles because they aren't you don't trade leaps for volatility. You basically treat them as a leveraged investment is how you want to treat them. And so you aren't trading a leap to catch a volatile breakout. You're trading a leap because you want to have basically exposure to more shares than you could afford while holding it for a long amount of time. So you buy leaps on red days. Same thing as shares. You buy shares on red days. You buy shares on pullbacks. And then as far as, are you looking for true leaps, 1 year, 2 year, whatever it may be, or really just longer term trades? That's when you ask yourself, what do you think is a nice, target, realistic target? And how long do I think that trade may take to happen? For anybody who was buying this first big push up on Google, maybe they were in those 180s or 185s, but it took it weeks to work out. So you have to make sure that you're buying enough time for your trade plan. Upside on Tesla tomorrow? I don't know. I didn't see how that thing finished the day. Well, we can all see where it needs to break. I guess I could maybe tilt that down just a little hair. We all see where it needs to break. It is right at it. I mean, I wouldn't have swung long Tesla here personally, but that would be the first trend break, even though it's much lower. So who really cares? But that would be the first trend break of that thing. That would be the first time it was, out of an uptrend since or out of a downtrend since, I mean, you know, the end of 2020, 2021. So that'd be a big thing for Tesla for sure. Lot to prove though, right here. It's time. But if this thing gets to running here, you know, 260, 270, not to say this isn't just a epic run, don't get me wrong. But that thing will get up there, that 260, 270 area if it actually wants to get to running. Uh, oh wait. Oh, you said snow. I thought you said snap. I was like, I don't think snap's doing a lot. Yeah, but let's be real here. If you were buying, I mean, if you were buying those dips, I guess we got a couple levels down here. I remember talking about shorting this thing somewhere up here. Wow, that would have been a good one. I mean, I guess if you were buying these dips, you could kind of seen that is nice. I like that. I wouldn't have widened it out to that 110, but I do like that. Get out of Raphael. That was a sniper. You hear anything about the Japanese dumping dollars to strengthen the yen? I mean, maybe that. I mean, that sure that could be happening, but like they need their dollars. It's not like they're gonna dump them all, and then a bunch of those dollars are just bonds or you know or things like that that they're selling before before maturation, which is typically not a good idea. Meta. I think that one. Yeah, that one hurts a little bit. That was another one that I hit a share trade on that ER drop, but that I hit it too early. I think it was like 450. Maybe even 455. And I took them off with 500. Well, rejected where we'd expect it to, that's for sure. Man, nice dip buy on it today. Where are the SMAs at on this thing? Who asked me about Meta? I gotta scroll up again. David. Wow. I mean, hold of this thing and that the hold of the daily 20. And I'm a dip buyer off that. That's a nice push. A little pull back down into it. Failures to break it so far. And then even down to this 500 psychological number. You're really feeling it. 493 trend anywhere down in this zone is going to be a buy for me on Meta. Another one I never trade. I keep seeing the meme of it's making the golden arches, and that makes me laugh. This thing looks horrendous. Oh, but wow. Are you like bottom fishing? I mean, we see where to try. But oh, onto this. I mean, very high risk trade, but I sure kind of like it almost. See if we can get a little wick under it. But man, that could just offer an epic entry. And I'm not gonna say, you know, it's not gonna be the reversal, but I would not be surprised to see us pull down to here and then take a bounce back to this 200-day to test it again. Because that's the or 200 weekly rather. That's the 200 weekly. So you know you got many years of data in there, 4 years of data in there, give or take. And so this is the first time people have been red on shares if they bought them 4 years ago. So that's pretty crucial. So could offer a nice little bounce there, honestly. Who asked me this one? Nick, just the generic names. Okay, SQ, and that'll do it. I see a few people trickling out of here. Thank you so much for being here. Hope you all enjoyed it. I love talking trading psychology. Everybody was just great tonight. And so thank you. Thank you. Always showing support for my lectures, and I really appreciate that. And uh, like always, if you ever have any questions, always feel free to ask. I mean, chart looks horrible on Square, whoever asked about this, but you can probably get a pop if we want to reclaim that 200 daily right there with just stops back in this trend because it'll probably continue selling if it gets back in there. But if we can pop over that 200 day, maybe look for a move all the way up to 67.50, 67.75. Given Nick, I don't know who you are. I was just saying, Nick, it's nothing against that name, you know. Yeah, thank you, everybody. I really appreciate y'all for being here. As always, feel free to DM me any questions you got. But awesome lecture. Thank you for the participation. I really appreciate y'all for being here. And if that is going to do it, we will call it here. Thank you so much. Have a good one.